welcome back, everyone. Twiggy is still our host,
Wow.
but I've seized control. I've seized power.
Yeah.
And I think justified after the madness that went down. We'd like to apologize for going so far off the rails in that last match. That's not true. We're not apologizing for anything. That was great.
Don't speak
Hey,
for me.
we've got players locked in for our top 64 as well. So we're going straight into the round of 16, or round of 64, whatever you want to call it. There's 16 matches going on. I think that's fair. G-Geek, we've got some good matches already in this tech solo. I mean, we've seen in some of the other disciplines that, you know, the first round is not necessarily the most exciting round of Trackmania, but a lot of these matches are already seeing kind of like 3 players who have potential to make it out.
Yeah, exactly, and I think we should try to highlight some of these particular matchups that are going to be happening today. We have our match of interest will be match number 7. Just announcing that right out of the gate, it will be Mi Quattro, Yavzo, Kawi, and Flimsy, which will be an interesting one. Very soft one to get into the flow of tech matches. But just to highlight a couple of others, match 6, as rightfully pointed out there, it's a match of France versus Poland. It's Feed and Coco versus Key and Tomshan. This could be very, very stout to look at. In terms of other matches that I am seeing, yeah, we did see towards the bottom end of the bracket with Shanimi, Klovny, Neil, and Salvatore, match number 16. Otherwise, we do have as well Razi, Kiwi, Tatu, Abdu, Pac and Jadon against Dunste and Kurisutina. Then you've got Zyko, Scrappy. There's so many. There's way too many. Tween and Maui, who was underrated AF. Might I add, Maui is an absolute beast versus Wings could be absolutely stellar. Then you got Shark, Paul, Pika, Morioka, match 10. There's too many matches to choose from, really.
Yeah, I mean, my eyes, Twiggy, are on the match that, unfortunately, Pac and Jadon are running into each other in round 1. Dunsta and Kurisu to round that one out as well. I mean, that's getting scary out there.
Yeah. I mean, as is the case when you go into a solo tournament, you are no longer... I mean, look, you're kind of representing your flag, but you know, you got to play for yourself.
Hey, Twiggy, stop talking. Twiggy, stop talking. The match is starting. Can confirm we are starting into the match. Well, hang on. We're getting 1 sec. They're going to start the warm-up now, so I'm going to need a real quick prediction from everyone before we go in. Formal, who are you calling as the 2 to make it out of our match? Mi Quattro, Javzo, Kawi, or Flimsy?
I'm going to go Mi Quattro, and I'm going to go Javzo with Flimsy with a very, very close third.
Yeah, okay. G-Geek?
I would go with what Max said. Mi Quattro, Javzo, but I would flip the position. Javzo first, Mi Quattro second.
Okay, Twiggy?
I mean, I can't say anything else. I would love to, but Mi Quattro and Javzo, yeah.
Yeah, but who wins?
Yeah, okay.
Who wins?
wins?
Okay, if I'm in there with G-Geek and he said Javzo first, I'm going to say Mi Quattro first. There you go.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to get ready to head into game. I do think that seems fair, but I do think Kawi and Flimsy are going to give them a run for their money as well. Let's see how it goes. Heading over to G-Geek and Twiggy for the cast for our first match of this bracket.
All right. Wonderful. Hello, guys. Welcome back. We hopefully bringing it down to 2 people will, stop some of the silliness from happening. At the very least, we can actually see what's going on now. I kind of indulge
into it a bit later on, but now that we're actually in the flow competition, which actually starts right now as the warm-up has just ended, it's going to be all right. We're going to be starting off on Magneton, the map from Mephisto. Arguably one of my favorite maps of the entire map pack, and a very Mephisto map in the building process of it. A lot of verticality, a lot of overlap in between the different layers of the track. Not so much horizontal sprawl, and as we see right now, it's going to be Mi Quattro emerging into the lead with a solid start, solid first sector from the Finn by 2/10 clear of the battle for second between Javzo, Kawi, and Flimsy. Currently following along with Javzo, who's trying to keep tabs with the Finn, but Kawi and Flimsy are having a really, really nice battle for third place in the meantime behind. Flimsy going a little bit high before checkpoint number 6, and thus will allow Kawi to sprint into the distance into third and actually make a charge and make a challenge happening versus Javzo for second position. Javzo, who goes full inside, does manage to keep the gear nice and easy, as we do see Kawi struggling to keep pace with the Dutchman as we go on to the final checkpoint, final corner to jump into the finish. Mi Quattro will be drawing first blood and get the first 10-pointer, and Kawi, such an unfortunate full stop pick at the gate before the reactor. Will see him finish in third place regardless, as Flimsy has had a lot more troubles. He will eventually reach the finish line, the American, 9 seconds down with 3 points to his credit, 55.0. We're starting soft in terms of times.
Yeah, for sure. I think well, when you do get into these, obviously there's another kind of period where you have to kind of get back into the flow of things, right? It's not the same as the seeding rounds. There are now stakes. You have to stay up as close to first place as possible. And when you're against players that you can see doing well, such as Miquacho and Javzo, that kind of pushes you to try and push for better times, which we saw from Cowie and Flimsy cause them to have a couple of mistakes that crashed them out in that one. I assume that is mainly what the problems were for them there, in the fact that they were crashing in those, right? You're going from seeding, where you're just trying to kind of through every round, into this, where you're pushing for times now.
Yeah, indeed. So far, Miquacho looking to be pretty composed, around a 10th and a half ahead of the battle for second place between Javzo and Cowie. Flimsy again left by the wayside, 4.5 seconds down compared to the leader, who crashes out before checkpoint number 9 and will be giving first place away to Javzo. Cowie up into second place. Miquacho manages to reach the finish line in third. That is such a shame to have thrown that away. Looking at what the splits were looking like, that could have been another low 55, maybe a 0.1 something or other. It is a little bit unfortunate for Miquacho to have that happen, but luckily for him, it happens in the very early phase of the match, and thus it's still pretty much all to play for at this point, as we do see two players actually slowing down dramatically, getting a very hefty clip at the reception of the ramp at the start there. Both Flimsy and Cowie paying dearly, and Cowie off the worst for wear, almost 9/10 down.
You can see this is why consistency really is key here. Javzo clips a wheel there on the inside of the turn as well. That's going to catapult him back down into third place, but not if Flimsy taps the wall on the exit of the turn there. Miquacho is by far, it looks like, the fastest player in the lobby right now, maybe pushing the other three to their limits, and that's why we're seeing so many little wheel touches, so many little bonks over the course of this whole thing. And unless Miquacho makes mistakes like he did in the last round, I think he is poised to be the player that comes out on top of this one, unless these other guys can build up some consistency over the course of this round here. It should be good from Miquacho once again. Fastest there. Respawns happening, but really it is a scrounge for points down at the bottom there between Flimsy and Cowie right now.
Yeah, that was such a shame for Cowie, who was locked into third, but then unfortunately went a little bit too far off to the right-hand side of the... Again, it's not... I guess we can call it a reverse turnover if you're actually climbing up it. I guess we can call it that. But yeah, unfortunately, he went off to the right side and actually clipped with the right side wheels off of the block, and thus was forced to respawn not once, but twice, which cost him the point that came with third place, the additional point that came with third place. As we go into the fourth and final round already in this first rotation of Magneton, and we do see a very significant clip on the inside before checkpoint 2 from Flimsy, which is going to get relegated down to last place as well.
Miquacho once again out ahead, but that's a great turn from Cowie to catapult him forward into first place. Good exit speed there. Javzo makes an incision through on the inside there. Miquacho, it's the first round where he's really had trouble staying in first place. Maybe pushing this hard is going to cause some players to make some mistakes later on. It's very inside line from Javzo once again, but Miquacho has pushed himself forward into first place, trying to get away from everybody else in terms of the match ranking here. In terms of the standings, Cowie pushed to the limit, the breaking point there. Javzo with a little more speed at the end, but not quite enough to overtake Miquacho by the finish line, and it is going to be Miquacho extending that lead.
Yeah, and Cowie, unfortunately, the end of this track is seemingly causing a lot more problems than he would have first anticipated for the man from Estonia, who thus will collect a meager 17 points at the result of this opening map, which is going to get cycled away. And I missed something apparently that made you chuckle.
The chat. Don't worry about it. Flimsy said, "How did I even qualify?"
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I think I might have caught a glimpse of that, but I was wondering if there was something else that I might have missed. But turns out it was not the case, and we're going to be moving on to Chiaroscuro by Neuro.
Yeah, indeed. And, well, hopefully for, well, I mean, everybody in the server apart from Miquacho, right? They're going to be hoping that this is something more can happen in this map, right? It seemed like Miquacho was by far and away the most comfortable player there. Javzo made a couple of mistakes, maybe just being pushed a little harder than he would have liked in terms of having to go for slightly faster times. Cowie and Flimsy had a really tough time gaining any kind of consistency on our first track there, so... You know, some players do have a better time with certain tracks. Some players, maybe it is just the case that when you are up against players like Miquacho and Javzo in the same server as them, being able to see their split times, it's a little more difficult to keep pace.
Yeah, indeed, as we go underway with the first of 4 rounds here on Chiaroscuro. A quick recap of the scores, which you can see on the left of the screen. Mi4 leading with 34, already a third of the way towards finalist status. 28 for Javzo, 17 for Kawi, and 13 for Flimsy. Currently following along with Kamzi, Kawi, third in the standings, battling with Flimsy. I guess we can coin that as a duo battle now for Kawi and Flimsy. Kamzi currently exchanging places between third and fourth. In the meantime, Mi4 going very close to the outside wall before the long right-hander to checkpoint 6, and a small clip that is going to be costing a lot of speed for Javzo on the entry towards checkpoint number 6, dropping him down to P4 and thus promoting Kawi and Flimsy into second and third respectively. But they are staring down the barrel of Mi4, who finds himself with a 0.3 of a second lead as he tries to push it for all it's worth here on this opening round. He goes a little bit more conservative on the final corner before the jump into the risky finish. Will still be good enough to clock a sub 101, a .958, 0.4 clear of Javza, who himself is just 0.02 of a second clear of Kawi. Flimsy reaches the finish line MP4, and Mi4 continues his unstoppable march towards finalist status, and he's almost at the halfway mark.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't look like he's breaking a sweat whatsoever so far. Nobody in the server is pushing him to his limits at any point. There was one round where he made a small... maybe I shouldn't have said that. Mi4 clips a wheel on the inside of the track there, but it's not the worst mistake in the world. He's only down by half a second, and from what we've seen from this server, it is very possible that somebody else opens the door for him to get back into this one. But for now, all of these 3 players right up neck and neck here in first, second, and third. Javzo just about pulling away and a little further with a better exit off of that corner. Flimsy and Kawi, though, this is where they can gain a couple of points. As soon as one of those top 2 players makes a small mistake, it just allows them back in. But there's Mi4 surging into third position. Can he make any more out of this one? If he can get 6 points out of this round, it would be absolutely ridiculous. But Kawi and Javzo holding the line in first and second for the time being. Neither of them giving an inch here into the finish. Oh, Mi4 almost makes it work. Halved his way back in within 0.3 of first place after fully making a half-second mistake at the start of the track.
I'll admit, Javzo give me maybe 1 or 2 heart flutters there with that attack to the finish, because we've seen plenty of players get heartbroken trying to go for the full left side of that particular finish and just full stop picking into the arch, not triggering the finish, forcing a respawn and thus losing valuable points, or costing a valuable points to your team if you're playing in KOTT format like we were during the Tech Team Tournament. In the meantime, we go on to the 3rd round of rotation here on Chiaroscuro. So far, Mi4 manages to clear the opening section just fine compared to what had happened on the 2nd round. He's going to be locking horns with Javzo for the time being. Kawi, about a 10.5 back, still finds himself along with the top 2, so looking to be a pretty solid round overall as far as he is concerned for the man from Estonia. And Flimsy, unfortunately, is being completely left in the dust by about 0.9 of a second compared to the leader, as we go a bit wide on that double left-hander before checkpoint 8 for Kawi. Thus will be left as well by the top 2. Mi4 leading Javzo by less than 0.2 of a second as we go into the final corner. Again, we don't attack the curb all that much, and it will be Mi4 scoring yet another 10-pointer with a .708 at the finish line, quite in line with what we've seen in the seeding towards the tail end of the rotation of Chiaroscuro. It will be Javzo second, Kawi in third, Flimsy in P4, and with that, Mi4 moves on to 58 points and Javzo up to 50. They're past the halfway mark towards finalists.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mi4 is definitely allowing Javzo within touching distance of him for the time being, but no more than that right now. It's staying just a little bit too difficult to keep up with this player here, and it looks like we're really settling into the roles, right? Mi4 is going to be the player to catch for the duration of this lobby here. Javzo right up behind him, doing the best job of doing that so far, but it is really everybody else just hoping that they get enough points. And hey, look, the finalist kind of format here does mean that there is still going to be a door open no matter what, but if Mi4 keeps staying in that first place, then he's not going to take too long to finish off the finalist role and get out of this lobby as quickly as possible. Everybody else just needs to find a little more speed right now.
Yeah, he needs to find a little more speed. You could maybe hear some sharp inhales coming from me because, yeah, Mi4 has been going through a little bit of a push through the middle sector, going very, very close to the outside wall before the double right-hander that leads into checkpoint 6. And Mi4 will get yet another 10-pointer with a .714 to his credit. Yavzo in second place, less than 2 tenths down. Kawi in third place, and Flimsy will reach the finish line, albeit 2 seconds down in P4. 68 for Mi4, 56 for Javzo. And with that, we move on to our third map of the rotation, which is going to be Surfside by Whiskey. One of the more, I'd say, approachable maps of the map pack overall. Chiaroscuro has its little quirks, and Magneton also has its own sort of difficulty set in due to the way it's built, and also due to the way some of the sections interact with each other. For instance, the start with a drop down in the ramp and so on. But Surfside definitely is a bit more of an homogeneous feel to it, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, for sure, but it is another track once again where Mi4 well up in the standings here on this map in terms of the lowest times consistently. We will see if anybody can really give him a run for his money on this one, but really now the target is painted on Javzo's back, right? That's where Kawi and Flimsy are looking at. It's a long, long way to go for both of them to catch up at this point. Over 20 points already for Kawi and 30 for Flimsy on this one. But it is doable. You can start to make that comeback happen. Anything is possible in this one. But getting yourself in the top 2 in the lobby, that's what you're looking at right now.
Indeed, as we go on to the first of 4 rounds here on Surfside. Mi4 already sprinting into the lead, but Kawi this time trying to flex his muscle, trying to stretch his legs a little bit, and currently sitting in second place and 10th and a half down from Mi4, but more importantly, a 10th and a half clear of Javzo in third position, languishing towards the tail end of the field, even though Flimsy is a bit further behind, about 6.5 tenths compared to the leader, as we go a little bit more on the attack, trying to carry some extra speed to the apex of the corner and towards the exit of the corner as well. Apex is an exit. Remember, folks, that's what it's all about here on Trackmania, and especially on Tech, as we go towards the last 2 checkpoints and the run towards the risky finish. Who gets the best exit? It looks as though Mi4 has got this round under lock and key. Great comeback from Javzo, but it's not enough to try and dislodge Kawi from second place. Mi4 clocks in a .315, a very, very decent time to start off, and Flimsy will reach the finish line at the tail end of the field, 8 tenths down. Mi4 3/4 of the way towards finalist status. Javzo moves up to 60, and Kawi is on to 41.
I think a lot of the time you can tell how much more confident Mi4 and even Javzo to some extent are in every single drift that they make, every single turn, right? You know, it's one smooth motion. They're hitting that apex every single time, getting a good exit. Some of the time you'll see Flimsy, you'll see Kawi kind of have to tap the brakes a couple of times to make sure they have the correct angle coming out of it. I think that's part of what it is, right? A little bit of hesitation from these two, especially when you start to slip down in the match ranking. You know, you second guess yourself. You're like, okay, well, you know, it's not been going well for me so far. We need to really make sure everything's honed in, and sometimes that just it works against you, right? You start to make a mistake, and then suddenly you're making more and more and more. And there it is from Kawi. He doesn't even hit the brakes at the right time. Slams into the wall. It's just a battle between Mi4 and Javzo right now. And Javzo, so far, arcing ahead just a little bit and staying ahead by 300ths to the finish line. Javzo, for the 3rd time, I think, gets a first place position.
That was a great round from both Javzo and Mi4. I was following along with Javzo midway through the second sector with the corner that falls off just before, I think it was checkpoint number 7 or 8. I'm not exactly sure about the checkpoint number, but there is a little bit of a transition from back to flat, and if you fall on the wrong side of the road, you end up having the car not having any grip at all and sliding towards the outside wall. But Javzo was right on the edge of grip and managed to control this beautifully, keeping tabs with the match leader. But right now, again, the match leader having a solid start, putting himself already a 10th ahead, but that gap gets almost annihilated immediately in one single corner by Kawi as he goes toe-to-toe with Mi4. Flimsy in third, and Javzo with an absolutely appalling end to sector number 1 will fall down to the clutches of Flimsy in P4 and P3 now as he manages to make his way past the American driver as we go back towards the lead at the front. The lead battle between Kawi and Mi4. Kawi going so close to clipping on the inside with the left front of his car. Checkpoint number 13. It's going to be down between these two, down to the finish line, and Mi4 retaliates in the final corner, gets the car set up all the way around the outside, and rolls extra speed into the risky fin and clocks in at .485, 70 milliseconds ahead of Kawi. Flimsy will finish in 3rd place. Javzo in P4. Mi4 only needs a 2nd place now for finalist status.
It was a great round there. Kawi smelled blood in the water, right? Saw that Javzo had arced down into 4th position, and that's exactly what you want to see if you are Cowie or Flimsy right now, is you want to see Javzo crashing out, right? McQuattro, he's already close enough to finalist that no matter if he makes a mistake or not, it's going to be impossible to catch him before he gets to finalist and get something done here. Javzo's still within reaching distance. You can still, if he makes a mistake, get yourself up to level terms with him and manage to get into finalist by the time that you are in that position here. And Cowie is really trying to push for it now. Senses that he's not out of the game, but this time around, Javzo not in 4th position, but in 1st position, and by quite a margin at this point. This is the furthest in 1st place he's been for quite a while. McQuattro sniffing at his heels, though, trying to really push for this one, and Cowie gets an unfortunate turn there, jumps out, back down into 3rd place. McQuattro stays 1st and gets himself onto finalist position. Javzo in 2nd, staying close to that one, but you can't help but think this one's going to be over very soon.
Yeah, and that was a great denial of points as well from McQuattro with that comeback in the final sector, denying the 10-pointer and replacing it with a 6-pointer for Javzo. So instead of going on to 83, Javzo moves on to 79, which is probably not the best score to have associated with your name. If your score finishes with a 9 in cup mode, you want to get rid of it as soon as possible, because if you end up on 119, it's always going to be a little bit of a pinch to the heart whenever you see that score associated with your player name in the leaderboard, as McQuattro will be circling back to the rotation of Magneton. We go into the 2nd rotation of maps, and he will be having his very first attempt completely undisturbed in finalist status. Here's a reminder: you have to win the round once you reach that status in order to actually validate your position.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, from what we've seen so far, it is either first or last, essentially, for McQuattro. If he doesn't make a bonk, if he doesn't lose over half a second or something like that, he seems to be in 1st position out of these guys on every single map so far. Magneton isn't, on paper, his best map. That would be Chiaroscuro, but he is very, very, very good at this one, especially in comparison to everybody else in the server. So I am expecting a pretty quick finish here for McQuattro. It will just be, can anybody contest Javzo for that 2nd finalist position?
Indeed, as we go underway for the first of 4 rounds here on the 2nd rotation of Magneton, and we do see Javzo a little bit all over the shop before going back onto the flat road in checkpoint number 3, and we'd be losing a lot of time and a lot of positions. McQuattro resurging into the lead, Cowie up into 2nd place, Javzo down to 3rd, as Flimsy is completely out of the picture already, 2 seconds down compared to the race leader at the moment. We go onto the jump into checkpoint number 7, get your car lined up for that little tight bridge there, and then onto the uphill right-hander, which can get a little bit touch and go when it comes to RPMs and trying to keep that 4th gear that is so important in many styles in Trackmania, and a huge clip on the way towards the right-hander from checkpoint 8 from McQuattro. Cowie moves up into the lead, Javzo up into 2nd, and Cowie will clock in a 55.401. As a result of McQuattro's demise, McQuattro, he reaches the finish line, but at this point, whenever you fall off at this late stage of the track, you can just as well DNF, because there's not really any point in finishing the track once you reach the final status and once you got the red trigram on your car.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Maybe you don't want to, you know, offset the muscle memory you have by driving the rest of the track at a very, very slow speed, the lower gear than you're used to at that point. McQuattro, he has another opportunity, of course. He'll have plenty of opportunities before anybody else gets to finalist for the time being, but that was exactly what Cowie wanted. This is crunch time now for Cowie, for Flimsy as well, right? This is your opportunity to try and make as many points happen, plenty of times to get it done, as again, McQuattro has made a big error there, drops all the way down into 4th place by quite a long way this time. That he's not getting that back, maybe half a second, not 1.5. And this is really the opportunity now for everybody else to maximize the amount of points they get before everybody else gets into finalists. Javzo out in 1st place for the time being. He'll be up onto 95 if he wins this round, but Flimsy having a good round as well, back in 2nd place, is going to get 6 points out of this one. Oh no, Cowie in 2nd place, apparently. I don't know what happened to Flimsy at the end there, but he does not manage to finish up in 2nd. Cowie, again, just trying to get as many points as possible here, but the longer this goes on, the more McQuattro's position in finalist is threatened.
Yeah, and for Flimsy, I suspect I wasn't on his perspective as well, but it was a very hefty slowdown that caused him to trigger the respawn, maybe a pixel clip when he was transitioning towards the final block before the finish line, and unfortunately for Flimsy, it's going from bad to worse to even worse than worse with that clip at the reception of the starting ramp. condemning him to last place by about half a second. This time, is it third time the charm for miQuattro? Javzo pushing it for all that it's worth, though. You could see how close he got with the left side of this car to basically brushing it and costing him some valuable speed and time. And he does clip the wall on the way towards checkpoint number 7. But look who's there to try and take up the mantle. It is going to be Kawi. But as soon as I say that, there is a mistake from miQuattro on the way uphill towards checkpoint number 8. And miQuattro is down to last place. It might be good for retirement on this round as well. Flimsy continues to crash out as well. In the meantime, Kawi solidly in first. Will be getting the 10-pointer for himself. Move on to 80. Javzo makes it into a double finalist status. 55.274. The times have been somewhat heavily impacted by the various trials and tribulations from all the players out there.
Oh, and the way this is going as well, triple finalists is on the cards too. Kawi has definitely started speeding up and getting more consistent over the course of this one. Maybe when his back was against the wall suddenly, that's the time to get going. miQuattro has let one player into the door here with finalist status. Javzo now able to close things out with a first position here. Kawi, can he deny them for long enough? Can Flimsy get a good enough round to deny either of these players? miQuattro, Javzo, they've both been in first plenty of times, but the amount of mistakes they've made in the last few rounds has just been too much to handle, and Kawi soars into first position for the time being, looking to deny both of them, looking to get himself on 90 points, get himself one round away from finalists. Of course, now if he does manage to get a couple of good rounds, it doesn't matter who wins, it's been going on long enough that he can get himself onto finalists as well, and he's actually got himself a full 10th up now. miQuattro soaring back, looking for a little more, tons of exit speed, but almost clips two players clip behind him. miQuattro finally gets it done in the nick of time there, and no matter how quickly Javzo gets to the finish line here, it's not good enough. Kawi in third place, he's not going to be able to get close enough to finalist on this one, but finally miQuattro over the line.
Yeah, miQuattro over the line finally. This was something that I was about to say. Getting to finalist status in cup mode is one thing, but concluding what's in finalist status is quite another. And this is really what cup mode is all about: being able to conclude and resist under pressure. And that pressure comes in the form of not being able to conclude and seeing the gap slowly but surely shrink over your opponents. And this is really where the pressure is really immense, and the mental strength of a driver really gets tested. And you said, Clips, it was more very hefty crashes for both Kawi and Javzo later on in the round, just before the jump into the final block. As we circle back to chiaroscuro, and Claire pointed that out, and I guess this is something that we should point out, is that miQuattro, this is his first time essentially in the tech tournaments that he's played Magneton. He has not played it at all during the tech team tournament, so he's not all that used to it, hence why he might have had some trouble getting the deal across the line here for that first position here on the second rotation. But now that it's all said and done, he can maybe get a little bit of rest and just watch the rest unfold on chiaroscuro, with Javzo in finalist status and Kawi 17 points behind.
Yeah, Javzo on the leaderboards here as 16th place currently, well ahead of Kawi, the closest player, on 36th place on this map. So Kawi needs to bring out something special here to get himself 17 points before Javzo gets a first position out of 3 players. With miQuattro out of the equation, much easier for him to do, but has to actually execute that in real time as well. And right now, down in last place. Oh, God, getting so close to the walls there, but tries to make his way up into first. Kawi fighting back for that one more exit speed, pushes him back into position, trying to deny Javzo from being able to take that second all-important qualification spot to the next round. You don't want to go down into the lower bracket this early on, but Javzo is looking to make that happen here for Kawi and Flimsy by closing things out in the final round. Kawi a tiny bit more speed, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Oh my lord, it is! Kawi makes it first place by just a matter of milliseconds there, and stops Javzo from being able to get there. I mean, he was pushing so hard, he didn't even make the finish line in the end, I don't think. 93 now for Kawi. All he needs, well, he needs another first place, of course, to deny Javzo either way, but 7 points to get himself onto finalist.
That's such a painful way to lose the lead as well for Javzo. I think he went a little bit too far off the left-hand side as he was trying to go for the barrel roll, and here it looks as though he will be resignated to the fact that there may be a double finalist situation coming yet again, this time for one more slot in the winner bracket second round. In the meantime, going back to the lead battle between Flimsy and Kawi. Kawi, as you said, does need imperatively the 10 points that come with first place, and it might be getting a little bit easier to get those 10 points as Flimsy clips on the inside on the way into the double right-hander before checkpoint number 6, and that will leave the man from Estonia, Kawi, ahead by half a second. All he has to do now is get into management mode, bring the car home, and manage the gaps to avoid a late resurgence from Flimsy, but also not underdrive too much and lose your focus point, lose your butter zone, mental butter zone in a sense, to avoid making silly mistakes. As we go onto the jump into the risky thing, Kawi will make it into a double finalist situation. Flimsy crashes into the arch, thus dropping down to third place. Javzo still in it, with Kawi now joining him in the finalist ranks.
Another double finalist situation, and if Javzo can't finish this off after the shift he put in stopping McQuackshore from being able to qualify so quickly, if he leaves the door open for Kawi here, that would be such an unfortunate situation to be in. Basically just stopping McQuackshore from qualifying for long enough that Kawi could get the points to take his second place here, and right now that is the position we're standing in, right? You're looking at Javzo down by a 10th here on Kawi, who has woken up towards the latter section of this game and is staying in first for the time being. Javzo briefly in first, but not with the speed to maintain that position. Looking good out of that corner here, but Kawi back into first place. It's really a fight neck and neck between these two players. It's as close as it could possibly be, and of course either of them winning blocks the other out of qualifying to the next upper bracket round. It's Javzo who moves into first for the time being here, and further ahead. More speed for Kawi, but they're going to need every millisecond they can get here. Javzo far enough ahead, but last time we were here he missed the finish line. He doesn't this time. Javzo just about gets it done and stops the man from Estonia from being able to get out of this one. Flimsy is going to have to settle for fourth place, but it was so close in the end.
Yeah, and both Miquacho and Javzo have had similar experiences towards the tail end of the match. Both their first attempts got denied, and yeah, both of them having trouble to really conclude when it mattered the most. And in the end, managing to get past their fear and managing to get those positions. Congratulations to Miquacho and to Javzo, of course, for continuing their way into the winner bracket. Kawi and Flimsy, of course, have a safety net with the lower bracket that is going to be awaiting them in the next round, and we'll be curious to see how these can actually rebound and actually go a little bit forward in the Tech solo tournament as well. I was going to say Tech Team, but no, Tech Team was last week. But yeah, all in all, I think it's a pretty solid match to get ourselves started into the Tech solo tournament, and I think we're going to have to ask the question to Max and Nua, our panelists who are going to be coming back on screen right now, and I want to learn about what they think was this match all about, and if this was a good starter for the Tech solo tournament there.
This was a pretty great starter to the Tech Solo tournament. I mean, just looking down the list of how other matches were going, this one of the closer matches to happen in round one for sure. And Kawi very nearly pulling it back and making liars out of everyone on this panel, right? I mean, everybody predicting Miquacho and Javzo to be the players to make it through, but Kawi made it very close at the end there, Formal.
Yeah, we put respect to his name. He kept it close, but at the end of the day, close can only get you so far. Close gets you to the lower bracket, so maybe a little bit disappointing for the Estonian, but he'll have a good run, I think, in that lower bracket. Just getting to that finalist point at the end was something special, but there were other close matches. Again, you know, looking about a lot of the familiar names, a lot of names you're expecting to get through are making their way in, but I mean, Livon as well had a close one, barely survived in, I believe that was heat number 8. There's still some other heats going on at the moment too, 11, 12, so they're still battling, so I imagine those are also close. There's a lot happening still.
Yeah, G-Geek, you called out before we got into this match, the match that was the two French players versus the two Polish players. Unfortunately for Key and Tom Chan, the two Polish players in that match, that has swung the way of the two French players, Feed and Coco qualifying 1 and 2 in that match. And it does look like in the match with two British players as well, things are going that direction as well. Jadon has already made it through. Pac is currently on finalist, looking to close that one out as well.
Yeah, by quite a long way too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was looking at the other matches that are currently ongoing. Feed and Coco. Feed and Coco, I'm not surprised. Feed is an absolute beast on tech. And at some point earlier in the game's life cycle, we called him the lower bracket. I would call him the lower bracket world champion because he is one guy who can put out a hell of a performance in the lower bracket, can come back to win it all. So you got to keep an eye out on him. Ratchet and Levon, as you said, Max, with Ratchet first and Levon in second place. Tween and Maui, as expected, making it through the first round. Cycles and Scrappy as well. There's a lot of... So far, I'm saying the logic is being respected. We're seeing many of the best tech names actually making it through the first round without any trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And Twiggy, I mean, you know, you were commenting on it there, I think, almost, but the one thing I do want to highlight is Team Germany. All 4 of their players winning their matches is scary.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it's kind of what we expect. I think when you do look at all of the players involved in this one, you look at their performances on the tech team event, right? You know, it's not like when you're a team, you're just kind of, you know, collaborating into into good results. Every player has to be good, even for a tech team tournament to work out in your favor. So it was always going to be this way, right? We're going to have the big 3 come out of this, especially, you know, the round of 16, the round of 128, whatever you want to see it as. You're going to see the good teams, as it were, coming first and second.
Yeah, I mean, it has been happening all the way down the board. The GB players looking good as well. Epos and Wizzy already made it through, as we said. Pack and Jadon have also made it through their round. So 4 GB players, 4 German players, I believe 4 French players as well have made it through. Yeah, all 4 of the French players. Although I do have to highlight, once again, the French are, I think, the only nation to be running into each other in this next round. Vortax and Coco will be in a match formal that also includes Scrappy at the moment and is still waiting on one final player to join it. That's a scary match in the second round.
That is a very scary match, and I'm sure there's probably some colorful statements being made over on Scrappy's stream as he's figuring it out. I'm also shocked to see Lingo actually drop to the lower bracket. I'm kind of going through there right now, and that's not a name I thought would be falling down this early. Neil is another one, actually. So the North Americans may be struggling a bit more than they would like through these early stages. But again, it's still the early stages. They're going to have chances to bounce back up, and I'm still waiting to see. I'm still curious about, you know, that Pac and Jadon, that British match that was happening. Who's going to get through there? Number 12. It does look like it is now finishing. Yes, it was Jadon. It was Pac. They got through Kurisu and Dunsi. So it was actually not as close as I was hoping it would be. Fair enough.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see. What we're going to do is throw to a quick break while we wait for these brackets to finish sorting themselves out. We will be back after the break with the second round of the Tech Solo tournament. Don't go anywhere. We are continuing after this. Twiggy is mogging, I guess, over there. And on we go. Yeah, that's it. That's the note we're going to break on. See y'all soon.